hypochlorite generation system, right? We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order for our June 22, 4 o'clock City Council meeting. Madam City Clerk, can you please call roll?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Rachel Arizmendi,
Present?
Mayor Pro Tem Jean Goss,
Here.
Councilmember Edward Garcia,
Present.
Councilmember Kelly Creeps,
Here.
and Councilmember Robert Parkhurst.
Here.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum and may conduct city business.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. And we'll ask Mayor Pro Tem Goss if he can please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Rise and put your hand over your heart. Hey, sit if you have a seat for invocation, words of inspiration. I searching to try to find something to say inspirational today. I was thinking about the fact that Sunday was both Father's Day and the first day of summer, so I thought I'd try to do something to kill two birds with one stone, figuratively speaking. And I found a poem, a public domain poem by a guy named Edgar Guest. It's about father and his boy fishing in the summertime. So it kind of does that for me. And it just got me thinking about my past with my dad and my experience with my son and a lot of my friends who go out in the summertime and go on excursions. They get a chance to get along with their kids and go fishing. And I know that Councilmember Garcia, Analyst Carlson, and others here do that as I do. And I also want to make sure that everyone understands that daughters are equally as critical to their fathers as well. This just happens to be a poem about a son that I personal kind of connection with. It's called A Boy and His Dad. And if I water my voice here, I'm trying to lose. I'm reminded we're 2 days into the summer with a wool suit on right now, so it's a tad challenging. A boy and his dad on a fishing trip. Here is a glorious fellowship. Father and son, the open sky, and the white clouds lazily drifting by, and the laughing stream as it runs along with a clicking reel like a martial song. And the father teaching the youngster gay how to land a fish in a sportsman's way. I fancy I hear them talking there in an open boat. The speech is fair. And the boy is learning the ways of men from the finest man. Kings to the youngster cannot compare. Gentle father with him. Greatest mind of the human race. Not for 1 minute take it. Which is happier, man or boy? Soul of the father is steeped in joy. For he's finding out to his heart's delight that his son fit for the fight. He's learning the glorious depths of him, the thoughts he thinks, every whim. He shall discover when night comes on how close he has grown. A boy and his dad on a fishing trip, builders of life's companionship. Oh, I envy them. I see them there under the sky in the open. For out of the old long ago, from the summer days that I used to know, when I learned life's truths from my father's lips. Share the joy. I yield the floor, Madam Mayor.
Very nice. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Goss. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the meeting agenda. Do you have any changes, any edits to the agenda as presented?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
just a quick one on agenda report for the ratification of professional services agreements with MIG Inc. Under the summary, it says on April 28th, 2021, I believe it should read April 28th, 2020. And I'm talking about the agenda report, not this agenda specific.
Okay. So the agenda itself, items, want to keep it in the consent calendar?
We should keep in the consent calendar, just. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Any other changes or comments about the agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
Second.
Favor, please say aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. Next item is approval for reading resolutions and ordinances. Vote of the city council to read all ordinances and resolutions by title only and waive the reading in full. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item, approval of the meeting minutes from June 8, 2021. Were any edits sent to the Madam City Clerk? Okay. How about this, Mr. Alcorn? All right. Do we have any changes to the minutes? Any edits? Seeing none, do we have an approval of the June 8, 2021 minutes?
I move to approve.
Thank you, Councilmember Creeps. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Parkhurst. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is mayor and city council reports. Who would like to report out first? Not everyone jump up at once.
All right, I'll go.
Thank you.
So two quick things. So last week I attended the Clean Power Alliance Executive Committee. There's nothing to report from that. The second was last Thursday was the Planning Commission. And one of the things that was discussed at that meeting was youth membership. And there'll be a detailed report going to staff. But I think, of all the commissions out there, it is that the Planning Commission that is one of the more challenging ones to consider youth members, partly because of its quasi-judicial requirements and also its meeting frequency of twice a month. So I think those are things that we'll have to consider as we go forward in looking at youth members for our commissions. And so I look forward to that dialogue when it comes.
Thank you, Councilmember Parkhurst. Who would like to go next?
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Garcia.
yesterday, June 21st, the Community Services Commission met and I met with them. We had a similar conversation regarding youth commissioners and it was a good conversation. That is the one commission that's very familiar with having youth commissioners and they're looking forward to getting that program started again. Also, there was an approval of using Arts in Public Places money for the Kirsting Court kiosk. The kiosk is getting a refresh. Some of the wood had termite damage and it's being refurbished. The painted glass will be retained as well. And there is talk about etched glass and maybe a historic photograph that's going to be in the form of etched glass. And finally, the 4th of July events. So the 3rd of July block party, which will be here on the boulevard between Kirsting Court and Hermosa. A lot of work has gone into that. And also the 5th of July parade will be happening.
Great. So excited to get back to our Sierra Madre activities. Who would like to go next?
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Creeps.
I don't have my own report, but just one addendum to Councilmember Garcia. Also on the morning of the 5th, the Community Foundation, I'm sure, would appreciate us announcing that they're sponsoring the Firecracker Fun Run again. So we will have that back on the agenda as well, the morning of the 5th.
Great. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Goss.
I do have a couple of things.
Great.
I'll try to make it quickly as I can. First, here in the southwest part of town, those of you who live in the area or drive through the area are aware that there's substantial street and sidewalk construction going on by the COP construction company under contract with us. I have received 0 complaints so far. I've walked most of the streets. And I've seen most of the work up close myself. I'm very satisfied with it. We're making tremendous headway there. There are sidewalks that are going to be level and smooth to walk on that haven't been that way for well over a decade or longer. So the news is good. And I just wanted to congratulate and thank Public Works Director Semino and his crew for getting this accomplished. Also, there was a front page article today in the Los Angeles Times, Above the Fold. And there's actually the picture of a guy out on a boat, middle of the Diamond Valley Lake. I strongly recommend this to every single person here and anyone watching and any citizen in the city. We are headed into a drought at the state level, but Southern California is a little bit different thanks to the foresight of many of the water agencies and municipalities in Southern California, according to this article citing the Metropolitan Water District and researchers at UC Davis. We're in a lot better shape here in Southern California and the rest of the state because of all the water we have in storage at places like Diamond Valley Lake. And there's a full discussion of just how that works and how much is there and so forth. And also because of the conservation efforts that we all went through in the last drought, according to the UC Davis researcher, most of us are still doing that. And so our take on the taps of California isn't what it was going into our last drought. So things are different. I'm not going to paint a too rosy of a picture. It could get bad over time. But certainly this is, I think, a very hopeful piece of news that I'd like the people of the city to be aware of. Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Goss. I just wanted to share an announcement. Pasadena Unified School District will be putting together a task force for redistricting. The timing of this is it's usually aligned with the census, and we have an opportunity for Sierra Madre to have a voice. So I would like to encourage those of you that are out here and those of you that are watching, or if you know of someone that is interested in serving on this task force, we will be appointing someone for this task force at our next meeting. If you'd like to get additional information, please reach out to Madam City Clerk Laura Aguilar. You can either email her and or call her. You can find her information on the website, or you can reach out to me and I can help you navigate that through. The time commitment is expected to be twice a month for 7 months between August 2021 through February 2022. And there's no compensation, but you would be having a voice for our city as it relates to the districts for Pasadena Unified School District. And that's all I have for my portion of it. So next we'd like to move into public comment. I know we did receive quite a few comments via email for items not on the agenda, but if anyone is here present that would like to comment on items not on the agenda, please come up to the podium and state your name. And you have 3 minutes or less to speak. Hello, Ms. Sheridan.
Hello, Deb Sheridan, Valley Vista Drive. And I just wanted to say that we're very sorry to be losing Gabe, but I have a couple of questions. First of all, is the city going to have a party for him, and are we invited? And secondly, when you have your search committee, would you consider putting residents on the committee because we absolutely had a magnificent city manager, and we're hoping to replace him with another magnificent city manager. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to address really quickly, because I should have said this in our report, that we are currently looking at our transition plan and what that will look like. And we should be making some announcements sometime soon. And we also are very sorry to see City Manager Gabe England go. But in terms of a party, I can circle back with you, Ms. Sheridan, afterwards. My thought is we're going to invite him to our next city council, and maybe we can do something there.
Hello, Tom. Again.
Can you speak into the mic, please, Tom?
Okay, is that fine?
There you go.
There you are. Thank you. I'd like to make a suggestion, since we have this change with the bus system, that the city expand the gateway bus to fit in as a replacement, and that you increase their hours, and that they would go to the stops, take people from this area to the stops that they can meet the regular buses at. I had one other, but I'm losing the memory. I'll try to remember it later.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Does
Thank
any-
you, guys.
Would anyone else like to make a comment on something not on the agenda?
Hello, Alex Arietta, Sierra Madre. I wanted to just speak briefly about the water issue. While I, understand the article that Councilman Goss shared, there's probably 10 other articles that indicate that we are headed for an extremely severe drought that's going to impact California, and you're already beginning to see the impacts of that across the West. And as fire season is beginning to start, and we've already begun to see some fires coming across. And so I want to strongly encourage the city council to look at the data, which indicates that it is very, very severe already, and to be a bit more longer term in terms of the strategic thinking on what appropriate actions that can be taken. I think that the water moratorium that was declared in 2014, the water surplus at that time was actually greater than what it is today. And yet the council at the time, including a couple of sitting council members, had the foresight to declare a water moratorium. So that was wise thinking, wise planning. And I would strongly advise the council to do the same as we head into this, what they're anticipating to be upwards of a 10-year drought. That coupled with the fact that there is still a housing development project being considered, which will come up for a vote of 42 homes, the monastery, which will be a further exacerbation of the water issues that we have. And it would seem to me, appears to me, to be the height of poor planning and decision-making if that project is allowed to go through at this time as we're heading into this most significant drought. And I hope the city council can seriously consider that and make the appropriate decision to implement a water moratorium as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment?
Okay, Bonnie,
And you still had 2 minutes left, so we'll give you another
Well,
opportunity.
thank you. On Gabe leaving,
Can you
and-
speak up a little closer to the mic, please?
on Gabe leaving and the need for new manager, or I don't know that this would ever take place, but I would hope that the positive changes under Gabe and guys as well would not be subject to change via a new opinion and a new city manager without very serious checking.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else in the public like to comment on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk Aguilar, can you please read out the communications you received via email for public comment?
Yes, thank you. There were 5 emails received for items not on the agenda. The first email is from Deidre Murphy, and that email reads, "Good afternoon. Once again, I would like to let you know that as a 22-year resident of Sierra Madre, I continue to be steadfastly against the current proposed project at the monastery. I truly believe a better solution in alignment with current zoning restrictions and in compliance with the general plan guidelines is both feasible and best practice. Many have suggested a native nursery and assisted living facility, something less impactful on the environment, fire concerns, and increased water shortage issues. Further, the current drought is already as severe as when the city imposed the last water moratorium, and it and the increased wildfire danger are expected to only get worse. In the resolution for the previous moratorium, the city stated that any approvals that would require a new connection to our water system would result in threats to the public health, safety, and welfare. We feel that a water moratorium should be enacted now. Note to Mr. Parkhurst, I contacted all members of the Planning Commission at Morro Bay per your comments at the City Hall meeting. They are all private residents and not employees of the city. Perhaps in the future, when you are talking about practices in other cities, you can also include this information for better transparency around this issue. I will happy to forward the responses if you like. This is in response to your comments per our request as residents to restore the PC to 7 from 5. Thank you in advance, Deidre Murphy." The next email is from Andrea Marino Lopez. That email reads, "Good evening. My name is Andrea Marino Lopez. I am a longtime resident of the Sierra Madre Canyon. It has been most disturbing to get the latest promotional card from the monastery and Monastery Development Company. It shows a large 3-acre park and talks about acres of open space, but then lists future availability of 42 homes. 42 homes seems very excessive and will completely alter the beauty of this pristine land. Our water and drought issues also seem to be a large concern. Because of COVID, many Sierra Madre residents have not had the ability or knowledge to attend public meetings in the normal fashion. Let's have more public input and more feedback from our local community before important and unchangeable decisions are made. Thank you, concerned in the Canyon, Andrea. The next email is received from Coriana Bear. Dear Mayor and City Council members, I am very concerned about the proposed tract housing project, including 42 large homes at the monastery site. It seems extremely irresponsible to even consider changing the zoning to residential to allow this project to proceed, given the fact that we are headed for another extreme fire season and drought. This makes no sense based on our water needs and the fire danger. Although I personally would prefer to see the land and monastery stay as it is, I understand that the church wants to sell the land for profit. However, there are many other uses that are more appropriate for this space that do not require the city to go against our current zoning laws. It is also my understanding that there are new grants available that could also assist in funding to keep the land open and beneficial for all residents. I strongly urge you to consider other options that would fit the needs and values of the residents of the city. Thank you for your consideration, Coriana Bear, Canyon Crest, Sierra Madre. The next email is from Valerie Lawton and Derek Sample on 623 Woodland Drive, Sierra Madre, California. To whom it may concern, we are against adding 32 homes to the monastery property. There is not enough infrastructure to service this amount of housing. We are undergoing a water shortage and we do not have enough water tanks for storage. The developers should be responsible for adding enough water tanks to service these homes' needs. Also, adding this amount of homes would create a busy surface street situation. This would turn our small, quaint town into a town with too much traffic, let alone the impact it would have on our wildlife in the foothills. Yes, we wish the monastery would remain as the retreat, but if that is not the case, we believe a better use would be a native plants nursery. And finally, there's an email from Shirley Moore, Sierra Madre, California. The email reads, Dear Sierra Madre City Council members, I am writing to you again to express my opposition to the development project proposed for the meadow fronting the retreat house at the monastery, as well as to express my concerns regarding city leadership taking multiple actions to include the residents of this town from the decision-making process on this and other such development projects that have been and apparently will continue to be considered favorably and promoted by our city management. I had the pleasure of walking Sierra Madre for a few days while my car was shopped the end of May, and I had my appreciation for our little village strongly reinforced by the fellow residents and their dogs, who I met in my travels, by the retailers who do business along the boulevard, and by the natural beauty on display throughout the town. We truly have something special here in Sierra Madre, something almost unrivaled in Southern California. True community existing in a reasonably developed municipality. So many who grew up in Sierra Madre stayed here or returned here for that very reason. Those of us who are transplants came and stayed here for that reason. I have lived in a lot of places, and this kind of universal passion for one's community is quite rare. That being said, I find it absolutely inexplicable that city leadership would support any kind of development that violates existing building and zoning ordinances, as well as our city's general plan, which is intended to serve as a guide for future development within the city's boundaries, outlining the community's vision of sustainable growth while preserving our small town ambience. The proposed monastery development is completely inappropriate for this town. It represents exactly the type of building that will destroy the character and community of this small town, unnecessarily increasing housing density, traffic, and place burdens on our already heavily utilized resources, including water. You all live here. Why would you vigorously support such a project? In the current environment of serious global warming consequences, it has been declared that California, as well as other southwestern states, is in the middle of a mega drought, a condition that is not only expected to last for years, but that is conjectured may never truly end. The expectation of continued and worsening wildfires is a grim reality we must also face. In light of these findings, and they have been published on an almost daily basis in local and national media, I do believe that you, as the city's leadership, should be declaring an indefinite moratorium on all new building projects, not just at the monastery, due to the severity of water shortages and the abiding threat of wildfires in our vicinity. Midsummer last year, you voted to reduce the number of planning commissioners from 7 to 5 members, removing design review from their purview and assigning it to in-house city staff. This greatly reduces community involvement in proposed development projects.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Thank you for it. And that's all 5 of them, correct?
Yes,
Great.
that's all 5.
Okay, thank you. And it looks like we're to the next item that everyone is here for, or most of you are here for. Waiting very patiently under that tree. I'd like to move into the presentations. And our first presentation is recognition of retiring Sierra Madre postal carrier Frank Rubio. I'm not sure if it was Deb Sheridan that first reached out. It very well could have been. But I know she gathered the troops and she wanted to make sure that as a city, we recognize the service of this man to our community. And I've heard a lot of great stories and I'm excited to hear some of them. But I think it's absolutely due that we recognize Frank Rubio for his 36 years of service. I understand that children and grandchildren know him, have known him over the years. And I bet, Frank, if you were on my route, my dog wouldn't be barking at our mail carrier. But I appreciate you. Right before the meeting, Frank had come up and said, I said, I know I recognize you. And he said, yeah, because when you're running for council and you're walking the neighborhoods, I would see you everywhere. And he was carrying my mail. So it's good to see you yet again, 7 years later. But I will go ahead and read this city certificate of recognition. And before I do, can I just get a sense of how many folks are going to be speaking at the podium so we can kind of put some time? Oh, come on. I know it's not just going to be Deb. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. So our certificate of recognition, City of Sierra Madre, Frank Rubio, in recognition of your dedication to serving the community for 36 years as the city's mail carrier, presented this 22nd day of June 2021 by the City Council of the City of Sierra Madre, Mayor Rachel Arizmendi, Mayor Pro Tem Jean Goss, Councilmember Edward Garcia, Councilmember Kelly Krebs, and Councilmember Robert Parkhurst. So we are going to ask you to come up. We'll give a big round of applause. Sure. Frank will say a few words. And again, for those of you that are planning to say a few words, please make your way to the podium or at least run to it after you're in the shade.
I can't drop the mic, huh?
Okay, have to move from right here. That's what I hear. So you gotta- yeah. So,
Hopefully I talk loud enough for you guys. First of all, I'd like to thank Mayor and the City Council and whoever else was responsible for this recognition. Then I'd like to thank my family.
Thank you.
And all you people who came out here to show me support. That way I can say it better.
Make this happen here.
Over here, good? Okay. First of all, I've been blessed to work in this city for 36 years. I know. God, I had it all prepared and now I don't know a damn thing to say. You know, you people made this job easy for me. There were days that I didn't want to do it, but I had to say hi to you guys. So this city and the people in this city will always be in my heart. Thank you so much.
And for those of you that would like to say a few words, you can come up to the podium.
Hi again. Yeah, I feel like I should turn around too. Can I? All right, instead of just speaking to city council like I usually do, Deb Sheridan, Valley Vista Drive. And I just wanted to say, when I moved here 34 years ago, the realtor said, listen to the birds, look at the view. She did not say, we have the most magnificent mail carrier in the universe. But I certainly found that out. And Frank, I just want to say, you have dealt with my mailbox, which doesn't always open, and my 4 dogs, each one is nuttier than the last one, and you love them. You petted them, you gave them treats. What mail carrier does that? I can tell you, my brother-in-law never, ever would have done that on his route. But I wasn't going to add this, but I think I shall from what you just said, is there are realtors in town who I'm sure would give you a great discount on a house. All you need to do is move here. I actually see one in the audience too, but I won't put her on the spot. Anyway, we are so going to miss you. Thank you so much.
I know everyone thinks Frank's a great guy. I used to think Frank's a great guy. And then I played golf with him. He didn't even let me win or come close. I'll never forgive you for that, Frank, but I do want another chance. We love you, buddy.
Wow. You know, you listen to what everybody has to say about Frank and the proclamation that the city just gave him. And you think about all the adjectives and other descriptors, et cetera, that begin to describe Frank. And the other gentleman began hitting on it. That would have been an interesting conversation if we could have gone down that path a little longer. I don't understand what the big deal is. I mean, I got this notice that kind of said, hey, look, Frank's going to get some type of recognition for retiring. Hell, I've lived in Sierra Madre now for 23 years, and I've known Frank's going to retire for 23 years. I mean, the first time I met Frank, it was we were talking about his retirement and what he's going to do and things. But so, you know, I keep saying, Frank, you know, you don't have to do this. You can certainly change your mind. You know, you talk about the dogs. I don't know that you can talk about Frank without talking about the dogs. I'm a little embarrassed to talk about dog stories because I've got a little French bulldog, and every time Frank pulls up, Lucy goes running to the front door. She sits there and kind of barks a little bit until I open it up, and then she runs down. Frank stops the car, gets out, does whatever Frank does, and then Lucy's ready to go with him. You know, he's going down the street, and she's just kind of trotting right behind him. So Lucy, come on back here. That doesn't seem to work. But I think the important thing is, you know, after 36 years, there's a lot of emotion, there's a lot of reflection, there's a lot of things that went well in your career and some things maybe you wish you could have done differently, et cetera. And it's all about reflections. And, you know, at some point in time, you get to a point that you want to know, did you make a difference? Well, Frank, let me just tell you, on behalf of all your friends here, et cetera, you made a difference. You're what makes Sierra Madre, the village in the mountains. It's an absolute delight to be here. You epitomize that. It's been an absolute privilege and pleasure to have the opportunity to know you. And God bless you, and I wish you the absolute very best for this point forward.
Jeff and Angel Throop. We live on 622 Valley Vista, and I don't want to repeat what others have said. You know Frank as well as we do. Always had a smile, always had a couple of minutes to talk. He's the epitome of what a mail carrier should be, and you can't say a lot more, but we do have a dog story that's a little unique. So he shows up one day and knocks on our door. Angel comes to the door, says, Angel, I've found this dog and I can't put it in my truck. Would you mind, you know, putting it in the side yard and maybe calling the Humane Society because somebody has lost their dog? Little dog. It had obviously been out for several days. And so make a one beer story a little shorter. Called the Humane Society. They came. The day came for the dog to be rescued or not. Angel, in the meantime, found out who the owner was, and the owner declined, said, you can have the dog. So we kept the dog for a little while. And then our neighbor ended up with Buddy because we already had two dogs. And then the dog came down with diabetes and had its medical issues, but was a great dog. And every time we would go over there to see our neighbors, we would see Buddy, and it was great. But Frank not only says hi to dogs, sometimes he brings you a dog. And it's a story that we tell from time to time, but it definitely was unusual. But we obviously, Frank, I've lived here 65 years, and in our house for 30 years, and it has been a complete joy to have you as our mail carrier. And we wish you all the best. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and take one last comment, and then we need to move on with city business.
Ann Palmer, 622 West Allegria. It says something when we lived on West Miramonte 30 years ago, and he has not been our mail carrier in about 25 years, but our little dog story is our dog Marshall used to get out and walk down to the post office and then go on the route. And Tim was his first mail carrier, and then Frank took over. And Marshall walked with him every day until Marshall chased the mayor's wife's cat into a pool, and we were told to keep our dog in. But where to show you Frank and his love of dogs is in the Sierra Madre earthquake of '93. Marshall had a heart attack and he passed away, and Frank got the whole crowd down at the post office. We got a sympathy card from them for our dog, and just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. Okay, again, one last one, and we do need to move on to city business. Frank, you are very loved, obviously.
Hi, we're Mike and Diana Spagnola. Quick story, we bought a house in Sierra Madre to flip. We'd stay a year or two, that was 30 years ago. And I can tell you, because Frank was our mailman and has been our carrier, he's watched our kids grow. You've been a friend of the family. You've been, we loved all the banter. We loved when you'd come up to the garage and talk. But my wife's got an incredible story that she'd like to share.
I know how the dogs love you, and obviously the people so love you. And this group just represents a small of the huge area that you cover, and they're so loved. But as people are talking about the dogs, yes, our dog loved you too, even though he barked, to let you know he still had that bark. But there was a time a few years back that Frank had noticed that mail was not being picked up by my neighbor across the street. And he came over and said, Diana, have you seen her? And I realized I hadn't. And so we both went over and long story short, called the police, and Frank was we entered the house of our neighbor, and she was in her bed on her last breath. She had had a stroke, and she hadn't had food or water for several days. And we were able to call the ambulance, get her to the hospital, and her life was saved because of Frank. And Frank was our hero, her hero. And years passed, she was able to get many more years. And then, of course, I attended the funeral, and who was there right in front of me? Frank. He was at the funeral and just giving his respect. And that is the kind of man that served us. And we are just so grateful. Frank, you set the bar high, and you will always be in our hearts. We love you.
I'm not going to get into the part about you didn't get my permission. Frank, you're standing here hearing all these good things, and you're getting choked up and teary-eyed and all that. But okay, now June 30th is the last day, right? So effective July 1st, every night is Saturday night, and every morning is Sunday morning.
Thank you again, everyone, for coming, and congratulations, Frank, and truly leaves an imprint in this community. So thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. The next item is a presentation for recognition of Ian Carson for his Eagle Scout designation. I'm going to ask you, Ian, to come up here in just a second, but I am going to read what the recognition says. It says, Certificate of Recognition, City of Sierra Madre. Ian Carson, in recognition of your Eagle Scout rank with PAC 110 and contributing your service to enhance emergency communications. Presented this 22nd day of June 2021 by the City Council of the City of Sierra Madre, Mayor Rachel Arizmendi, Mayor Pro Tem Jean Goss, Councilmember Edward Garcia, Councilmember Kelly Krebs, and Councilmember Robert Parkhurst. And I know we have quite a few Scout leaders, ex-Scouts here on council, and I would just like to invite you to say a couple of words if you can, because I know you know how important this designation as Eagle Scout is.
Yeah, so I think the statistic is about 3% of Scouts ever make it to Eagle Scout. So it is a huge undertaking. I actually have had experience with Ian. I am on the troop committee of Troop 110, and he's a fine young man. And his project was done by himself with help. Part of that whole project is being able to manage a job. And he did all of that. Again, he's a fine young man. I had the pleasure of driving him to a trip, Calico, I think, Colorado River, one of those, maybe both. But I got to know Ian fairly well. And congratulations, Ian. Well-deserved. We're very proud of you.
Anyone else like to say anything?
So, Ian, I mentioned this to you earlier, but I'll say it here in public. I'm thankful for you and your services for three reasons. First is your service to community. I know getting your Eagle Scout badge, even the lower ranks requires significant amount of public service. And so that's, it's fantastic to have you serve our community. The second, what the project that you did was to put a repeater up in the mountains here for our emergency response. And so for our community emergency response team, now we have yet another way to get critical aid to people in the event of a catastrophe. And then third and final, I am also an Eagle Scout. And so it's always my pleasure to see other youth achieve that rank. I know what goes into it. Councilmember Garcia was almost right. I think the statistic I've seen is 4%. There's actually a book on it called 4%, which is actually a very nice, well-written book. And I'll just close with one piece of advice, or two pieces of advice. One is never be ashamed of the rank. It will open more doors than it closes. And you have heard this from countless other people, but I feel it's an obligation to say it. You never say you were an Eagle Scout. You always say you are an Eagle Scout. And you will and always be one. So thank you for your service.
So Eagle Scout Carlson, if you would like to come up, we'll be happy to present this to you.
Just like to say thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And I hope my project works. It does work. I hope it lasts for a while, and I hope we don't have a major disaster, but we'll be more prepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you for your contribution to this community. The next item we have is a presentation, is a proclamation of July as Parks and Recreation Month. And I believe Community Manager Services, Silva, Community Services Manager Silva will say just a few words.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, or good afternoon, Honorable City Council. So annually, the National Recreation and Parks Association holds this July as the Parks and Recreation Month. NRPA is a leading not-for-profit organization that is dedicated to building stronger and healthier and more resilient communities through the power and the presence of parks and recreation and community services. So this proclamation will go to recognize and bring relevance to what we do and how we enhance the quality of life. This year's theme for Parks and Recreation Month is Our Park and Recreation Story. And we want to be able to highlight and showcase the stories of our Sierra Madre community residents and citizens and employees and what have you, that actually have shown to bring that vibrancy and resiliency to the community that you live in and that we have the honor of serving. So for those that do have social media, we also encourage you to follow along and use hashtag our park and rec story. And with that, I do have our team members who really do make it all come together. Our recreation coordinators, Clarissa and Lauren, who will be receiving the proclamation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you and welcome, Community Services team. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation and proclaiming July as Park and Recreation Month, certificate of recognition by the City of Sierra Madre. Whereas the City of Sierra Madre recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources, parks and recreation programs build healthy and active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for those who are mentally or physically disabled, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens. And whereas parks and natural recreation areas improve water quality, protect groundwater, prevent flooding, improve the quality of air we breathe, provide vegetative buffers to development, and produce habitat for wildlife. And whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors. Outdoors. And now therefore be it proclaimed that the City Council of Sierra Madre does hereby proclaim the month of July as Park and Recreation Month and urges all residents to take the people in their lives to a neighborhood, state, or national park. Presented this 22nd day on June 2021 by the City Council of the City of Sierra Madre, Mayor Rachel Arizmendi, Mayor Pro Tem Jean Goss, Councilmember Edward Garcia, Councilmember Kelly Krebs, and Councilmember Robert Parkhurst. Happy Park and Recreation Month. Okay, we are still on presentations. So we have one last presentation, and I believe Chair Pat Holland will be presenting on the Community Services Commission update.
Senior Commission.
Sorry, I'm just so excited about recreation and community services. Senior Community Commission update. Chair Holland, thank you.
Thank
Kelly.
you. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I just noticed you had fans up by your podium, so I'm glad you had fans because I was going to say you need air conditioning out here soon. Anyway, good afternoon, Mayor Arizmendi, City Council, City Manager, and staff. My name is Pat Holland, currently the chair of the Sierra Madre Senior Community Commission. And Joanne Williams is hiding behind the TV screen over here. But
She doesn't hide.
I know. And most of you know her either by her personality or by her reputation. But I won't go into that at this point. That's a little later on. She's also a member of the Senior Commission. And our other members are Anita Thompson, who's the vice chair, Sally Olson, who's back over here, Jackie Porgala, Patricia Kroc, Marlene Enmark, and myself. Now, this is Joanne's last meeting per se, because she has hit her limit on the term, so she will not be joining us anymore come July, but we are going to miss her. We are here this afternoon to give you an overview, just an overview of what the Senior Commission is responsible for and what we actually do. Staff has given you some handouts of the the activities of the Senior Community Commission, which are numerous, the Senior Resource Guide, and the Senior Moments a monthly newsletter. We want to thank the Community Services Department staff for everything they do for us and the city. They put a lot of time and effort into making everything work as efficiently as possible. So thank you to Lauren Hines, Clarissa Lowe, Rosemary Garcia, and Rebecca Silva Barone. They are the heart and soul of making the senior activities happen. Thank you very much. Now, the purpose of the commission, we are responsible for advising on the welfare and well-being of older Sierra Madreans by defining their needs, not ours, their needs, locating and publicizing available resources, and coordinating and initiating services and opportunities for them. The commission tries to improve and enhance the quality of older residents throughout the community. We meet on the first Thursday of every month at 3 p.m. in City Council chambers, unless we are required to have a Zoom meeting, which hopefully will end very, very soon. We won't go over everything that is on the list that you have in front of you, but we would like to highlight some of those. Along with staff, we seek nominations and make a selection of the older Sierra Madre American of the Year, usually in May, but the past year and this year, we were unable to do that because of the pandemic. After the selection, there is a dinner at the Hart House in honor of that person, and the commission also sponsors the participation of the older American in the 4th of July parade. We sponsor the yearly community yard sale held at the park. But again, last year was canceled, and we're hoping to have one sometime later this year. We sponsor the senior rock concert in the park in the summer. But once again, the pandemic hit us again. We sponsor a Christmas holiday luncheon for our seniors at the Hart Park House in December. We have monthly birthday celebrations for our seniors with cake and ice cream. And you can see on the list there are many, many other activities that I won't go into, but you can peruse at your leisure. But most of all, this year, we are very proud to say that we provided lunches for our seniors for over 11,000 households. That's 11,000 households in Sierra Madre. We allocated $88,000 out of our budget to provide meals since the YWCA discontinued their lunch program during the pandemic. Those seniors who participated, which were about 52 to 55 a week, those seniors who participated were so grateful for what the staff and the commission did for them. Thanks to the staff again, Lauren, Clarissa, Rosemary, and Rebecca, the program was a huge success and very well organized. We were able to provide the monetary part because of the county and city sponsored donation account we received that provides us funding to provide these benefits and all of the others you see on the activity list. Without that funding from the LA County Disposal and Surplus Property Program, we would not, I repeat, we would not be able to accomplish the things we do for the senior community. We also participated in the senior housing survey. Commission members distributed copies of the survey to local organizations and to the Kensington in order to get more responses than we actually had. In front of you, you should have a copy of the resource guide. This was initially put out in 2014. It was revised in 2019, and it's a very handy resource guide for not only seniors, but for everyone in the city and even outside the city. Like I said, it was updated in 2019, and it's due for another revision come this year. We noticed that there were some typos that were happened after the printing, but those will be corrected and other things will be changed. The senior newsletter that comes out every month is published by the staff. It is sent out to everyone who signs up for it. They can sign up for it either by email or by US mail. And it has a lot of activities in there that each month that the staff puts together for the seniors. We are proud of what we do and can do for the senior community, and hopefully we continue to do that for a long time to come. And just so you are aware, which I wasn't, according to the latest census, Seniors in Sierra Madre who are 55 years and older are approximately making up 40% of Sierra Madre residents. 40% of Sierra Madre residents are 55 years or older. So this commission that we're sitting on is very important to our community. Now I'd like to introduce you to Joanne. She has a few words to say, but before she sneaks up on me, she's been on the commission since 2015 and was a chairperson for 3 of her 6 years. Her term expires at the end of this month, as I originally said. She will be truly missed. She's a fun lady, active lady. She doesn't sit around and let the dust collect. She's involved in everything the city has. She has been a member of, when she was a member of the, as a chairperson and a member of the commission, there were some difficult and challenging times, and she would like to say a few words. A few words. From Joanne Williams, I will step aside.
Chair Holland, thank you very much. And before Commissioner Williams comes up, firecracker, I believe, is another description of her. Yes. And Miss Williams, you still owe me a Senior Rocks t-shirt, just saying.
We're getting new t-shirts. I would like to speak very briefly about 2 people that will be forever in my memory of serving on this committee. The first one is Rosemary Garcia. She has the most amazing title, administrative analyst. What is that about? I can't believe it. And I like to call her Mrs. Click Here because, as you know, she sends out all this stuff just before the meeting and it says, click here. And then you get all the paperwork that is put together for us to know. Agendas, minutes, that's always 3 pages, updates, that tells what happened this month and what happened a year ago. And then we have the financial accounting. The thing that really annoys me is that click here didn't work a couple of times. So I ran over to City Hall and nobody could find her. She wasn't in obvious view, but so they went in that maze of offices way back in the back there. They couldn't find her. So I came over to the Senior Park House and guess what? When you walk in that building, there's a door on your right. You open the door and it's a closet. Well, that is where she was with her little laptop and her little desk working away. Now that's not so bad. Besides her, Lauren Hines was in that little closet and she was doing her work and she's a noisy one like me. And then Clarissa Lowe was also in there with her desk and her lap. And I found out the way to talk to somebody in there is to stand outside and lean your head in and speak to whoever it is you're wishing to get information from. Rosemary, as she probably does for you, provided us all with cold water, nameplates. I could never figure out those nameplates. I think they were supposed to let people know in our audience who was up there. We never had an audience and probably never will. A couple of times I picked up my nameplate and just turned it around so I could see who I was. She also checked all the mics. She is calm and efficient, and she has that kind of half Mona Lisa smile all the time, but she knew what she was doing and usually managed to straighten us out. So thank you. The next person I'd like to speak about is Patrick Holland. I call him Mr. Organizer, and it's just awful. I live next door to him, and it's just, I mean, you look at his yard, people walk by and they go, oh, how does that do that? Things are blooming all the time. And if that one is dying, there's another one blooming over here and he's out there working. But you know, it's awful to live next door to someone like that. I've gone through 2 gardeners and this one's about to give up 2. But the people who see that beautiful yard are really missing the best part because it's the backyard. I won't try to describe it, but if Architectural Digest was around, they would be taking pictures. It's beautiful. Beside his lovely home setting, he's very interested in being well prepared for everything. It drives me nuts. And as an organizer, I went over to talk to him to ask for a high school picture of, I don't know why I wanted a high school picture of him, but I did. And he just smiled nicely, invited me in. We went into his workroom and the whole desk was bare. There wasn't a paper in sight. It's a beautiful desk, but it looks like nobody ever does anything there. Even the trash can was empty, honestly. And so he reached over and pulled out a drawer and reached in and pulled out a folder. And there was a high school picture. And he printed it up and showed it to me. I'm just going to briefly show you. This is a picture of him and my yoga instructor. They were both chairman of the student body at their high school. So this is how they looked in those days. You didn't even laugh. Okay. I think it's funny. He's a patient listener. He just sits there with that smile on his face and he lets you say what you want to say. And then he calmly brings everything together so we're all happy. In our neighborhood, I'm almost through. In our neighborhood, he's a manager of our Colony Drive block, and he keeps us well aware. Like he's into the neighborhood watch thing. I get alerts from Sierra Madre PD, from Arcadia PD, and from the sheriff's department every time there's a little blip anywhere. Fascinating. And then a day later, I get the cancellation of everything from those three entities. So we're well aware of what's going on. We have driveway meetings. We have one coming up Sunday. You are not invited. You have to be a member of our Colony Drive gathering. And all you have to do is bring a chair and something to drink. And we just sit and talk about all you guys and everything. And this is the only place in town in his driveway, which is spotless. They have two regular sized cars. They both fit in the garage and he can close the door. Hey, this is amazing in Sierra Madre. My daughters keep his number on their phones because if they can't figure out what the heck mom is doing, they call him and he runs over and checks on me. Anyway, thank you, Pat, for everything.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Chair Hollander, do you have a few more words?
2 paragraphs.
Okay.
And that's it. I knew she wouldn't be short. So anyway, thank you all for your time and your interest in the Senior Community Commission. We would like to personally thank Councilmember Kelly Cribbs for her participation in our meetings and being our liaison. We really appreciate it. Thank you. And lastly, we would like to thank City Manager Gabe England for his service to our city of Sierra Madre. Thank you to the current and past city council members who hired Mr. England. He's been a gift to our city, no question about it. There are so many great accomplishments, too many to mention, and Gabe was extremely successful during his tenure here. So thank you, Gabe, for everything you have done for us and our wonderful city. Best wishes to you and your family in your new endeavor. And just as a personal note, I was very disappointed to see the Mountain View News headline this past weekend where the editor said that he quit. I thought that was very negative to Mr. England, and I hope that she apologizes for that. But thank you very much for your time regarding the Senior Commission.
Thank you, Chair Holland, and please thank the entire commission for all of their work. Okay, the next item on our agenda is our consent calendar. Madam City Clerk, I believe you'll be presenting on this.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. On this afternoon's consent calendar item, there are 7 items. Item A is consideration of Resolution 21-39 approving certain demands. It is recommended that the City Council approve Resolution 2139 authorizing payment of city warrants in the aggregate amount of $429,885.85. Sierra Madre Library warrants in the aggregate amount of $6,685.73, and payroll transfer in the aggregate amount of $398,851.31 for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2021. Item B is approval of fiscal year 2020 and 2021 water main replacement change order. It is recommended that the City Council approve change orders for the fiscal year 2020, 2021 water main replacement project in the amount of $149,881.54. Consent item C is approval of notice of completion of the security fence on Grand Avenue at the Spreading Grounds. It is recommended that the City Council accept the installation of 1,000-foot security fence as complete and direct staff to issue a notice of completion to the office of the Los Angeles County Register Recorder County Clerk's Office for the construction work done by the contractor Dash Construction Company, Inc. Agenda item D is consideration of reappointment of commissioners for an additional term. It is recommended that the City Council reappoint those commissioners and board members seeking an additional term. Consent item E is consideration of cancellation of both regular August 2021 City Council meetings. It is recommended that the City Council approve the cancellation of both regular City Council meetings in August and direct staff to pay all necessary expenses during that time. Consent item F is a ratification of professional services agreement with MIG Inc. It is recommended that the City Council ratify the professional services agreement entered into between the City of Sierra Madre and MIG Inc. And lastly, consent item G is the purchase of on-site sodium hypochlorite generation system for the city's West Tunnel Water Treatment Facility. And it is recommended that the City Council award a contract to PSI Water Technologies in an amount not to exceed $55,000 for the purchase and installation of an on-site sodium hypochlorite generation system for use at the West Tunnel Water Treatment Facility. That concludes my report, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk Aguilar. Do we have questions on consent item A? Questions on item B? Questions on item C? D? E? F? G? Just asked if we had any questions. Seeing none, we'll open this up for public comment. If anyone would like to comment on anything on the consent calendars presented, please make your way to the podium. I thought Ms. Alcorn was getting up, come down. So seeing no comment for consent calendar, bring it back to council for any discussion comments.
Madam Mayor, there was an email comment that was sent in.
Great, thank you. If you can please read that, Madam City Clerk.
Yes, thank you. This email was sent in by Todd Cranston Cuevas, and the email reads, I would like to voice my deep concern that the City Council is considering canceling both regular City Council meetings at a time when there are projects under consideration and natural events which will significantly impact our community. The people of the community deserve to be able to address our City Council as we face, one, an ever worsening, truly unprecedented drought and its impact on our citizens. 2, the potential for one of the worst fire seasons in our history. 3, the proposal for the 42-home development on the current site of the monastery, including its long-term impact on our water infrastructure. The current plan is not water neutral and includes 1, pre-purchasing a resource that may not exist in 50 years. 2, pre-purchasing water without consideration for the compounding effects of inflation, which is not fair to other citizens in our community. And 4, a need for more transparency by our city leaders, including moving all future City Council meetings to a time and place which is accessible by the majority of our tax-paying citizens, not in the middle of work hours. I do hope that you will reconsider your decision to cancel the City Council meetings in August. Regards, Todd Cranston Cuevas.
Thank you. And I'll just address 2 quick items. I know we are bringing our status of water up for a future discussion. And then also we will be notifying the public as to when we'll be moving our meetings back into chambers. Given that, do we have any further discussion or comments on the consent calendar items?
Madam Mayor?
Councilmember Parkhurst?
Yeah, I just have I think 2 quick comments. One, I'd like to commend the folks that put in the security fence on Grandview Avenue. They did a really nice job. The Dash Construction Company there, that looks really nice. And then also, I'd like to voice my support for the sodium hypochlorite generation system. Having chlorine gas there is a hazard. The bleach solution essentially is what it is, will be much safer. And so I like to thank Director Reynoso for bringing that forward and to keeping the city and its citizens safe.
Thank you. Any further comments about the calendar? Councilmember Garcia?
Yeah, so as city council members, we are accessible, well, whether or not we're having a meeting. I just think it's important for the public to know that. I'm going to be out of town on August 10th, but I am still, as we all do, we look at our emails, we talk with staff. It's not as though we're going on vacation for a month. So I think that's an important thing to understand, that we are here to work for the community, even on months or times when we're not at an actual physical meeting.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Just to follow that
Mayor
up,
Pro Tem?
we haven't had August meetings since I've been on the council, at least 7 years.
True.
That's through the entire last drought.
That's accurate. Okay, seeing no other comments and further discussion, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Maybe any further deliberation, further comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is our public hearing, and I believe Director of Public Works Semino and City Engineer Charkudian will be presenting on Resolution 21-37, confirming the levy for assessments for fiscal year 2021 in the districts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. I have a brief report on this item. This item is a public hearing on the city's assessment districts. Earlier this year, on May 25th, you adopted a resolution of intention to levy these assessments. Tonight's item is a public hearing and adoption of resolution of confirmation and resolution for the tax rates for the lighting district. This will finalize the approval process for the districts, whereas staff can now, upon adoption of these resolutions, upload all the information to the county assessor's website for tax purposes. So tonight's meeting, the recommendation is brief. Open the public hearing, receive testimony, close the public hearing, and adopt resolution 21-37 and 21-38. That concludes my report. Be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Engineer Charkudian. Do you have any questions on this item for either Engineer Charkudian or Public Works Director Semino?
Madam Mayor?
Councilmember Creeps?
Just a quick question about the staff report mentions 8 different districts and but yet the levies only cover 5 of them. Is there a explanation for that?
Okay, there's a total of 8 districts. The 4 districts are within the downtown business area, which are 2 lighting, the parking, and the downtown landscaping. Those 4 districts will have a 0 assessment as indicated prior. The other 4 will remain the same. There will be no changes on the rates for the other 4.
Any other questions? Seeing none, we will open this up for public hearing. No one wants to talk about levies in the business district. Seeing none, we will close the public hearing and bring it back to council for further deliberation, comments, discussion, motions.
I move that we adopt resolution 2137 and resolution 2138.
Thank you, Councilmember Garcia. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, Councilmember Parkhurst. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that was a unanimous vote in the affirmative. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is also public hearing for consideration of ordinance 1444, and this is City Attorney Iragosian.
Thank you, Mayor. We can get the presentation up. So today I'll be presenting on the low impact development plan that's going to be amended by ordinance number 1444. Next slide. Have you turned to the next slide? So here we are, 1 second. Perfect. So the LID ordinance, also known as low impact development, pertains to impervious surfaces. Our municipal code defines an impervious surface as any man-made or modified surface that prevents or significantly reduces entry of water into the underlying soil, resulting in runoff from the surface in greater quantities and or at an increased rate when compared to natural conditions prior to development. Examples of impervious surfaces include roofs, solid decks, patios, sidewalks, driveways, parking areas, roads, compacted gravel, oiled earth, etc. The illustration to the right shows what an impervious surface does when water hits it. Basically, it causes runoff. And a problem with runoff is that it increases water pollution and causes groundwater depletion. Next slide. So this slide is intended to illustrate the genesis of the LID ordinance. In November 2012, the Los Angeles County Regional Water Quality Control Board approved the NPDES MS4 permit. The permit indicated that one method of limiting water discharges is by establishing a low impact development program. That's defined as a program where building and landscaping features are designed to retain or filter stormwater runoff. So this is really a result of the permit that was issued by the regional board. In January 2013, the City Council approved resolution number 1301, adopting the City of Los Angeles's low impact development ordinance and Green Streets policy as an interim measure to comply with the 2012 MS4 permit. And finally, in October 2013, the City Council adopted ordinance number 1344, adding chapter 15.58, which is the LID ordinance. Next slide. Since adopting the ordinance, there have been a number of issues with developers locally who were hesitant to, who had questions about the LID ordinance, I should say. Probably the biggest question revolves around the definition of redevelopment. So it's going to be a little complex, so I'm going to try to make this clear. The LID ordinance has two separate regulations, one for new development where there are no existing impervious surfaces, and one for redevelopment where there are existing impervious surfaces and we're going to take some out and redevelop on it. So the discussion here is all about redevelopment, not new development, which is primarily what we have in the city because the city is built out. A survey of nearby cities reveals that Sierra Madre is the only city not to include the term replacement in the portion of the LID ordinance regarding redevelopment projects. All of the other LID ordinances staff reviewed include language regarding creating, adding, or replacing impervious surfaces. In contrast, Sierra Madre's municipal code only refers to creating or adding. It's unclear whether this exclusion was intentional. So it seems at first that replacement is not something that's contemplated by the code. However, that's not how staff has interpreted it in the past, because the definition of redevelopment, so although these redevelopment thresholds don't talk about replacement, the definition of redevelopment itself contemplates replacement. As you can see in the highlighted and underlined text before you, it says addition or replacement of a structure replacement of impervious surface area that is not part of routine maintenance activity. So staff has consistently interpreted creation or addition to include replacement because the definition of redevelopment expressly includes replacement projects. Next slide. Staff seeks to clarify this confusion by making it further clear, by further adding clarity that replacement is contemplated by redevelopment. And as the next slide will show, next slide, we have a specific standard now for replacement. So under the existing code, the addition of 500 square feet or more of impervious surface area triggers an LID ordinance. That's the existing code, that's not changing. If we're adding 500 square feet of impervious surface area, you will have to go through LID. Here's what changes. Before, staff interpreted the replacement of 500 square feet or more of impervious surface area to also trigger LID. That was catching a lot of small projects, small home improvements, ADUs, and we had received a lot of pushback from the community about that. So as a result, we're amending this so that the replacement of 50% or more of impervious surfaces of a previously existing development will now trigger LID. The last change you'll see, or rather it's not a change, I just want to note it because other codes have it and we don't. Other codes have a special exception for redevelopment for the redevelopment of single family homes. And our code doesn't. So as a result, we're catching a lot of single family homes in our LID ordinance where other cities don't. So just as some background, a survey of nearby cities reveals that Sierra Madre is the most stringent, has the most stringent thresholds. This was recently confirmed by the Regional Water Quality Control Board representative. For example, the cities of Duarte, Monrovia, Arcadia have set their thresholds between 5,000 and 10,000 square feet, depending on the type of redevelopment. The city of Los Angeles sets its threshold at 2,500 square feet. The survey also reveals that Sierra Madre is the only city not to require a special exception for single-family homes. Arcadia, Monrovia, and Duarte make redevelopment projects subject to the LID ordinance if they create, add, or replace 5,000 square feet of impervious surface area, and that threshold doubles if the redevelopment takes place on a single-family home. These thresholds effectively exclude development on single-family parcels from the city's LID ordinance because no one's building 10,000 square foot homes. In contrast, Sierra Madre's ordinance sets the threshold at 500 square feet for all redevelopment projects, regardless of whether the redevelopment is of an existing single-family dwelling or accessory structure. Next slide. So the last point to make here is that the city engineer was concerned that if we're going to remove these LID ordinance requirements, that there could still be drainage issues that go unresolved if we continue to build greater than 500 square feet, but less than that 50% threshold. And so the city engineer had suggested that we allow the director of public works to exercise his discretion in determining which projects need a drainage plan. Now, they're not going to need an they might not need an LID plan anymore, which costs about $2,000 to $3,000. But if the project is located in the canyon and the public works director determines that there's going to be a potential cross-lot drainage issue, in order to study it to make sure that there isn't an issue, the public works director may request that the applicant submit a drainage plan. Lastly, in the ordinance, you'll see that there's a reference to an LID manual. As you can imagine, there are a lot of details that go into this LID program, this LID plan, and all of it can't be included in our ordinance. So the city engineer relies on the LA County's LID manual as a reference and provides that reference to members of the community to help them navigate this LID process. And so we just want to reference that in the ordinance and adopt it by reference explicitly so there's no confusion with respect to members of the public regarding what standards apply to the LID plan. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney Garagosian. Do we have questions on this item?
Madam Mayor?
Member Creeps?
Thank you for mentioning the manual, and I understand that, we don't want to put all those details into our ordinances. Is there any concern that the LA County version, because their threshold is so much higher, that the guidelines provided there are not as relevant or applicable to projects here that could be much smaller with a 500 square foot threshold?
A very good question. The LA County has, the manual itself has a wide variety of different cases, different scenarios. It ranges from rain barrels, which capture the rainwater from the roofing system, to dry wells. So we have a wide variety of choices for BMP, best management practices, to capture that water and infiltrate it into the water table. So that has been used widely. Right now, there's an unwritten law that we tell people there's a manual out there you can use. What Alex did is codify it, so we have no problem making it an ordinance and codifying it, so we can force the engineers to go to that manual. And it's a very good manual. It's 500 pages. It's not very interesting to read, but it's very helpful.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Parkhurst.
well, I'd like to follow up on that question. So is the manual from the county the only guidance, or do we have our own BMPs in addition to the LA County guidance?
There's another, the state of California, it's called CASAC, has another system which is very similar to the LA County manual, which is written in more layperson's terms. But the manual itself is an engineering tool, basically, to design it. There's other options that the applicants can provide, as long as the volume of retention is within the code and we are capturing the maximum amount of rainwater and infiltrating into the water table. That's the purpose of the lid. Actually, the purpose is two-pronged. The first purpose was initially to capture all that, it's called first flush, to capture all the debris and toxins accumulated during the summer months on the surfaces. So that would, that would protect the environment as we capture those toxins and eliminate it in an orderly fashion. The second would be reclaiming the rainwater and infiltrating it into the water table. So it's a two-purpose solution here for the lid.
And are there, considering we're going into a drought, and I look at some of the practices on there, and some of them make sense with bioswales and some of the other, there's also things like green roofs that I've not seen a green roof in town. Are there more that we should be considering or we should be doing to capture our rainwater, considering the drought conditions that we may be facing in the future?
Of course, with this ordinance that we're trying to amend, we're going to capture less water, but there are other ways to do it. Municipally, the cities can create areas where they can capture the street water, the street runoff, and infiltrate it in some type of little landscape areas that capture the water from the curb. I've seen that before. So there's a lot of possibilities we can explore at this point to make sure that we compensate for the losses on an individual project basis that we're going to be losing here because we're changing the ordinance.
When you say we're capturing less water, how much, I mean, is it a lot less, a little bit less? I mean, it's hard to say because it depends on the project and who's renovating. I understand all of that, but it's a little concerning to me that, especially now that we're changing things that will capture less rainwater.
But by law, the lid requirements require that we capture 1 inch of volume of runoff over the impervious surface that we're creating. If you're putting a 2,000 square foot home, for example, you have to infiltrate so many cubic feet of water, retain it on site through a dry well or a chamber, and just infiltrate it through the water table. The remainder of the runoff, which is Sierra Madre gets 5-inch runoffs, a 50-year storm is a 5-inch rain. So almost 20% will be captured by the lit system. The 80% goes to the street and ends up into the ocean.
Can we change that?
Well, that's a Public Works Director, Semino can answer that question because there are some cities are trying to capture it from the streets, like I said, and create some swales where they can infiltrate the street runoff. That's very applicable and very result oriented. And you can capture a lot of water like that instead of individual additions and homes on particular parcels. But
Director Semino?
Good evening. So we've installed some catchment basins that like curb cuts throughout the city. There are some other streetscapes that we can do. You know, if we do a sidewalk project in a landscaped area, we can do some curb cuts to allow more stormwater to go into the parkways. Some of it's kind of tricky because you have to worry about the liabilities of opening up sort of thing. But there's a lot of other things that we can do in our street projects that to include to capture more water. When we did the service to park, the parking lot there, we did a bunch of curb cuts to allow the stormwater to go into the grass area before it runs off. Kirstein Court is a big example. We installed an encatchment basin that can hold up to 2,000 gallons of water. So all the rain that happens in Kirstein Court, whether the patio area or the roof runoffs from the buildings there, will go into that encatchment. So the more we do parking lot projects and projects like that, we'll be installing more encatchment basins. What Kev's referring to about capturing a little bit less with the development is if you take away the replacement of the 500 square feet, it just kind of takes away from the LID on smaller projects. So it's a minimal amount, but it is an amount that we won't be capturing. A lot of people like the LID projects because it does bring sense of water conservation. You know, the swells that we built here in front of City Hall is an example that people can do on their front yards to just allow their roof runoff to go to a swell and build up, you know, and then eventually absorb into the earth. It's really when it's a downpour, come to City Hall and take a look. It looks really cool with the bridges and the water that comes in. But people are doing that on their properties on their own also. So there is a lot of things, and we take it into consideration when we do our project.
Thank you.
I follow that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I've got one. So my last question, just to clarify something, Attorney Garagosian, did you say that we've had no complaints about the LID requirements?
No, I said the opposite. We have had complaints.
That's why I want to make sure I was clear on that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we have had complaints and we're trying to make it clearer for residents so we avoid the complaints because it consumes a lot of staff resources. And just so you know how this would apply, if we make this change today, if someone is going to build a new home, if they're going to demolish a home and build a new home, they're going to go through LID for sure. If they're going to improve their home and expand it by a lot, they're going to go through LID for sure. But now for an ADU, if they're going to build an ADU in their backyard, probably not going to go through LID anymore. And for someone who wants to build an ADU, trying to minimize costs, it's a significant expense.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Goss?
That was my follow-up question. These are very expensive projects. I mean, putting in a French drain or something like that's thousands of dollars. So this is not a nominal cost to our residents, but it is a nominal loss of water. Would you say that's a fair statement?
I think the city engineer can speak more to the cost, but that $2,000 to $3,000 estimate, that's just the plan.
That's the plan. I'm talking about the actual
There's-
doing it. It's
right.
More thousand. Yeah.
Yes, there's a substantial cost. Depends on the project. If the project is substantial, let's say 2,000 square foot addition, you're looking at a chamber, underground chamber that could result in expensive construction costs. However, there's some very innovative approaches you can take. and like creating a garden where you can infiltrate, or a small trench where there's a depression, you can infiltrate the water. Or rain barrels are very inexpensive. You can capture from the, the rain, the gutters, and then just store it and then use it for other purposes. So there's some innovative approaches, but if the project is large, then there's a substantial expense there.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor?
Councilmember Garcia?
Yeah, so same concerns. I know a resident recently fixed up a home on the boulevard and then built an ADU, and I think out the door it cost him 12 grand to put this thing in the front lawn, right? And I'm really a big fan of carrots rather than sticks. Do we know if there are any grant programs or programs out there that can help our residents pay for these LID projects? Thank you.
I think Director Rustamino said he's not aware. Any other questions? Okay. We'll go ahead and open this up for public comment. Public hearing is going to open. Anyone like to make a comment on this item, please make your way to the podium. Seeing none, we'll bring it back for discussion with the council.
Madam Mayor.
Member Creeps?
I just wanted to reflect the conversation we just had, the question and answer session, and feel like I think the bigger impact, and I too share Councilmember Parker's concern about recapturing more of our water. That's a problem not specific to Sierra Madre, certainly specific to Southern California, and the lack of foresight in planning the entire region in terms of recapture, and we're all kind of paying for that now. But I liked the larger projects that the city engineer and the public works director were talking about, because I feel like that's going to have much greater impact and actually maybe make a difference, as opposed to putting this on individual homeowners who are doing quite small projects. 500 square feet is like, pulling out your patio and putting in a new patio. And so I feel like that's, as stated before, a nominal benefit for what I think becomes a disproportionate cost to that homeowner. And I don't feel like that's where the advancement could really, where we could benefit from advancement here.
Thank you. I'll just comment really quickly. The way that I view this is it's really a clarification of how the ordinance was initially worded and the way the language was put in the ordinance. And this is a clarification of it. I think the question of the lid parameters might be something that we explore later. It's interesting and a little concerning that we are as restrictive as we are, hearing that in some of our surrounding cities and neighborhoods, or neighbors, that we're hearing 2,000 square feet is the threshold, 10,000 square feet is threshold. So I think that's an important discussion that we should consider. But again, in my opinion, what we're looking at right now is a clarification of this project. And on top of that is incentivizing or finding ways to educate about water capture and things that residents can do on their own, as well as what we can do as a city.
Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Parkhurst?
Yeah, I'd like to echo that. I think it underscores the discussion. I think it was the last city council meeting we had about a plan to really work on saving water and capturing water in the city. So I think that I hear very clearly what Councilmember Garcia said about the cost on it. It seems like the cost benefit of this is way skewed, and think that there is probably better, I think carrots is what you said, that we can do on this, that can get us more for less cost.
I was going to make the same suggestion. He's the only one in the sun there. Any other comments, discussion on this item? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment of section 15.58040.
Moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that motion carries unanimously. Last item on the agenda is Sierra Madre Outdoor Dining Program, and analyst Alondra Reynoso, welcome to the podium.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. So I will be starting the presentation on staff's recommendation for updates to the outdoor dining program. So for some background on the program currently in place, the city currently has a temporary outdoor dining program under Resolution 2033, which was adopted in May of 2020, approving the Sierra Madre Cares Initiative. This plan provided opportunities for outdoor dining and seating throughout downtown Sierra Madre in an effort to provide assistance to Sierra Madre business owners under the Safer at Home orders and COVID restrictions. A new program would work to implement a permanent outdoor dining program for Sierra Madre food establishments. So with the implementation of a new program, it would require the dissolving of the existing permits. So the following would be required for businesses applying for an outdoor dining permit. 1, submission of a new application complete with appropriate insurance requirements, proposed dining area plan, and application fee. And additionally, applications are subject to review by building inspection. The permit would be issued for the calendar year, January through December, with prorated fees effective July 1st of each calendar year. Businesses will be charged a dollar amount per square foot of their dining area to compensate for the use of public space. And additionally, staff recommends that fees are waived for the remainder of 2021 and the collection of permit fees to begin January 2022. Next slide. We have a tier system, and the city encourages restaurants to utilize this tier system below when considering the use of outdoor and sidewalk dining space. So number 1 would be the use of private parking lots or other private space. 2, public sidewalks. 3, enhanced public sidewalks. And 4, patio spaces or available public space that meets the needs of businesses and does restrict or remove parking. Next slide. So businesses who wish to utilize outdoor dining will be eligible for one of 2 categories, those being patio dining or sidewalk dining. So for patio dining, patios may be provided to restaurants that have table service, meaning food is customarily delivered by a server and items are bussed, removed, and cleaned by a waiter during and after the meal is complete. And sidewalk dining, where enhanced sidewalk dining may be provided to restaurants where food is ordered at the counter and customarily not delivered to a table, but received indoors or at the counter and the customer is carried to the table. Additionally, restaurants may expand their sidewalk dining area onto the storefront or work area of neighboring businesses with the written approval of the adjacent property owners' businesses. Slide, please. So lastly, we have our staff recommendations. Staff is recommending that City Council approve the updated Sierra Madre Outdoor Dining Program guidelines, develop a new application and permitting procedures, and direct staff to publicize and administer to all qualifying food establishments in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Analyst Reynoso. Do we have questions on this item?
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Parkhurst, still in the sun?
I'll back up in a second. Analyst Reynoso, can you clarify for me what an enhanced public sidewalk is? I'm just trying to wrap my brain around it.
Of course. So enhanced public sidewalk would be spaces that would encroach onto neighboring or adjacent businesses. So that would be normal public sidewalk would be the space just directly in front of a business, and enhanced would be that encroaching to the neighbors.
Thank you.
Just a quick follow-up on the enhanced, if that was something that was approved, would it require the operators or owners of the adjacent stores?
Yes, it would require written approval from the adjacent store.
Thank you.
Bouncing off the mayor's question, would that be businesses or landlords? Because I thought I heard owners. Would that be owners of the business or owner of the property?
Owners of the business.
Okay, great. And is there are no, if we're doing enhanced dining, are there no restrictions on busing? So if a business doesn't have service or staff that does anything, and there's tables out there, perhaps, food scraps or trash could be left behind for the city to pick up, or is there anything in mind how to deal with that?
Yes, so that's why we have the separate categorizing. So for restaurants that would have table service, they would have the patio dining, but for sidewalk or enhanced dining, it would be the business's responsibility to maintain the area and make sure that it's kept clean.
Thank you.
Follow up? I assume that's part of the rationale, just following up on Councilmember Garcia's question. I assume that's part of the rationale for making the permitting annual, so that if there are problems with, compliance, whether it be cleanliness or other maintenance, that would go into the reapplication consideration.
Yes.
And I have a question in terms of budget and financial projections or impact. Do we have what that potentially could be, given that there might be other facilities or restaurants or food services that may be newly eligible that maybe were not part of initial CARES?
So staff would take the remainder of the year, the next 6 months, to sort of monitor business interest and plan out building costs and things like that to help establish a fee that wouldn't be overcharging businesses, to make sure that it's fair and businesses aren't being overcharged. We want to prioritize that.
And does anyone know, and analyst Reynoso, you may know this, do we have a budget that we have already approved for it or a set aside?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just
Councilmember
one,
Crepes?
just one clarification on that. You're suggesting that the fee would be set at such a rate that essentially the business would bear the cost of the construction of the platform? Is that what you were saying, that that's how we would derive the fee?
Yeah, the permit fee is going to consist of numerous items. It'll probably be base per square foot, and that will cover the lease of the area that they'll be using and the cost of building the patio. The patios that are built today are really temporary patios, so new ones that will be built won't be built to last 10 years. They'll be built in a similar fashion also, but last a little.
And as far as the tier system, let's say somebody has their own parking lot, and then they request something that's on the street taking parking. I'm assuming that we would prefer them to use their parking lot, given, let's say it's a flat, even, there's no grade on that parking lot. Would we necessarily entertain the idea of putting a patio out in front of, let's say, Wisteria? That's a good example from my mind.
We would evaluate the situation and give the approval based on the individual situation. Wisteria did not get one during the CARES program because they did have the parking lot in the back, and it seemed to work out really well.
And finally, so the Buccaneer Lounge has a pretty steep grade on their patio. I don't know where they fit in this because it's not food service, but they are definitely coming out and busting glasses and doing things of that nature. So I don't know, would the Buccaneer fit within this program?
So during the CARES Act evaluation of that, that is their property in the back. We supplied the K-rails for safety concerns. But other than that, that's their property there. I don't know if they would be approved by the ABC because they're strictly an alcohol establishment to be out on the street. But if they came to us with an application, we would evaluate it, but they would also have other approvals from other agencies that we would have to.
Thank you, Director Sumino.
Mayor Pro Tem Goss?
Just sitting here, something dawned on me. How did we get approval to do this in the street in the first place? Did we get some kind of pass from the traffic engineers, or we're talking about something that's more or less permanent?
No, we did not have a traffic engineer do an evaluation. However, we did consult with our consultant engineer, And we came up with the safety concerns of the traffic. As you notice, we tried to reduce speed on Sierra Madre Boulevard by warning signs. Those aren't regulatory signs, but we tried to warn them that there's things in the street. So if they become permanent, we're building them permanently, then a traffic engineer will be consulted to make sure that we're following proper
So
procedures.
this is short of that.
Yes.
Any other questions before we go to public comment? Seeing none, we will open this item up for public comment. And if you have a comment on this agenda item, please make your way to the podium and you have 3 minutes or less.
D. Alcorn on Grandview. I just wanted to expand a little bit about the parking situation. I think that the way it's worked out has been pretty nice to have that out there, you know, having the atmosphere of openness. I think that's been a very nice plus thing. The question I have, though, is probably in line with what's going on here. What is the criteria for a person, you know, for a establishment to establish a parking or, you know, taking parking in front of their establishment? I haven't seen it's pretty obvious why some of the people did it, but what is a consideration for place A versus place B being able to have a taking up a parking space? As I say, I think that's been very nice, but I think, was there some clarification that the people need to know what it's going to take for them to be say, justify taking a parking spot? Because you have a plus and a minus. It's neat to have it in the street, but then again, you take away one of the prime things is parking. So my question is there what is the consideration for that aspect of it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I add that I want to hire Ian? 'Cause I know he can wash dishes. Dear members of the Sierra Madre City Council, my name is Karen Clemens. I've been owner of Mother Moo Creamery going on our 10th season in Sierra Madre. We are in business of providing family entertainment. We pride ourselves with offering something for everyone, from the toddler getting his or her first ice cream to the patriarch who picks up the bill for a family of 8. Like my past dad. We are one of the few food-based establishments in town that offers something for everyone. We don't discriminate by age or income. You don't have to be 21 to eat an ice cream cone, and you don't have to break the bank to have a slice of pie. We also make an excellent root beer float. I'm here before you because I strongly believe the proposed seating guidelines that determine which restaurants can have outdoor patio space and those that cannot, such as those who qualify under the enhanced sidewalk seating program, is very short-sighted. The rules are based on which restaurants have a paper menu and a server. If you don't utilize these 2 items, you are designated for the enhanced sidewalk dining program, which greatly reduces a restaurant's ability to do business. If you are a family-centric business like mine is, and you have more than 3 or 4 people in your party, you have to search throughout town for alternate seating. You could not sit in front of my store. You would not have that option. Coffee, pastries, burgers, pizza, Mexican, Greek cuisine, sushi, fish and chips, beer sandwiches, they all appeal to select individuals, and we all want those establishments to succeed. Some places should fall under the enhanced sidewalk dining option because they engage in solo activity, such as drinking coffee. Others should have an outdoor patio space because 1, they are utilized, and 2, like my neighbor to the right, who doesn't want a cold beer on a warm, summer, beautiful day? These establishments qualify for the respective programs not because of a server or a paper menu. They qualify because of what they do and not how they deliver. Ice cream is one of the establishments that most everyone likes, and to have a seat for 2 or 3 individuals through the enhanced dining program doesn't take into account the large families that come to the Moo to enjoy and participate in family entertainment. When Kirsten Court opens, sure, people will go eat their scream there. But as a business owner and as an establishment that appeals to most everyone, why can't I have adequate seating in front of my store? Why wouldn't the city embrace a business that provides wholesome family entertainment, life, and joy to its community? Not every business that has a paper menu and server does that. The consideration of this program are not black and white. I've been working the line a great deal, and I'm grateful to see my longtime customers come back. I'm not talking locals. Sierra Madre residents have been wonderful. I'm addressing long-time, long-distant customers who travel great miles to come to our little town.
Thank you, Ms. Clemens. Your time is up.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else that would like to comment on this item? Ms. Canterbury.
Carol Canterbury at 46 Victoria Lane, and also with the Sierra Madre Chamber of Commerce. And we just wanted to let you know that we did take an informal poll, and everybody seems to be very pleased, happy with how things are working. And even the parking seems to have improved with the code enforcement gentleman that's around now. So everyone seems pretty pleased, and just delightful actually when you drive down the street and you see everything full. And that's what it's been like the last couple of weeks, especially now that we've opened up. So it's just very nice. And people seem very, very happy with it. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Kafala, are you making your way to the podium?
Madam Mayor, City Council members, hello. I had actually sent in the letter, so I guess we can ignore that. I'll just go ahead and read it. Since I have not formally expressed to you as of yet, I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of myself and my brother to express our great appreciation and gratitude for coming up with this idea last year to help us extend our dining into the street. It was a big help to us, allowing us to survive through the last year, which, as you know, was very devastating to many individuals and businesses.
Can you speak closer to the mic, please?
Yeah, what was created early on, thanks in large part to City Manager Gabe England, was by far better than what any other city around had come up with, and is a big reason why we're still around today. As you may know, my brother and I are the owners of the only place in town, and we've been there for just over 16 years. During that time, of course, we have faced our set of challenges, but nothing like this last year. Once we were finally allowed to reopen, our cooped up guests were ready to take to the streets and go out again to feel somewhat normal. It was, however, a bit tricky as the uncertainty of COVID led about 90% of our guests, if not more, to only want to be sat at the patio outside. After a while, we noticed everyone preferred the outdoors, and even though we did some enhancements, not even knowing what the season would bring, not even knowing that it would go this long, many preferred that, and has become very inviting given, of course, our California weather, which lends itself to being available most days of the year. This new outdoor space has brought in our regulars and surprisingly record numbers of brand new guests. I feel fairly comfortable saying that I speak for all the restaurants in town by saying that the new patio spaces that have been created have been a great addition, not only to our businesses, but also to our quaint community as a whole, creating character, nice ambiance, and a great walkable feel as an extension to our city. This increase of alfresco dining, I believe, will remain as the new norm, as the new normal continues to form. It has also undoubtedly brought in new tax revenue for the city from the great increases we've seen in sales. Additionally, it does bring in additional customers for the other businesses in town, including the retail and otherwise, given the close proximity and the walkability factor we have in town. It is truly my hope that you will consider making these outdoor spaces permanent, as I've seen now there's a resolution for that, for the continued success of all of our businesses in town, and I believe they greatly enhance our quaint village. I also, now that I'm up here, wanted to kind of express a little bit based on the parking.
And I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to stop you. Your time is up.
All right,
Thank you.
well, thank you for taking that into consideration.
Thank you. Madam City, oh, before I ask Madam City Clerk if she needs to read some comments that were emailed in, do we have any other folks here that would like to comment on this item? Seeing none, Madam City Clerk?
Thank you, Mayor. There were 2 additional emails that were received. The first is from Ed and Donna Ray from Casa del Rey. It reads, "To whom it may concern, we own Casa del Rey Restaurant, and we are so grateful and thankful the city has provided us and the community with street dining. We have received positive comments and feedback letting us know that not only how the street dining in the city has brought so much safety and health security to the people, it has also brought so much character and ambiance to our wonderful city of Sierra Madre. Sierra Madre is a walking village to stroll around by foot, and with the beautiful reconstruction of Kirsten Court, we truly believe keeping street dining will benefit all businesses in town. Kindly, Ed and Donna Ray, owners." And the other email submitted by Lisa Brandley, manager of Lucky Baldwin's Delirium, reads, "To our mayor and city council of Sierra Madre, on behalf of Lucky Baldwin's Delirium, 21 Kirsten Court, I would like to thank you and the city for immediately stepping up for our local restaurants during this awful pandemic by providing us with outdoor dining. You have no idea how much it helped us financially as an establishment, but as well as keeping staff employed. I love how we all work together as if there was a wait at our if there was a wait at our pub, we would send our customers to another restaurant as well as having the same done to us. The feedback from the customers has been overwhelmingly positive, and it is obvious that people want to sit outside when given the choice of indoor and outdoor seating. When our patio was taken down for the Kirsten Court project, it has been nonstop concern that it was permanent, but being able to let customers know it would go back up was refreshing for them to hear. Again, thank you, thank you, thank you for everything. And we at the Delirium are so excited to see what is next when the green fence comes down. We just know it is going to be a beautiful and huge success and worth every day of the wait during construction." Lisa Brandley, manager of Lucky Baldwin's Delirium. Those were the only 2 other comments, email comments received, Mayor.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. Okay, we'll bring this back for discussion with council and I actually do want to ask Director Semino, we don't have any specifics yet on parking and what that criteria would be. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. When we did the temporary patios, we added a lot of 20-minute spaces surrounding those patios. So those stalls would be turned over quickly.
Okay, and then part of this evaluation period would include what parking eligibility or criteria.
Yeah, we would evaluate that with the.
Thank you. Okay, bringing it back for discussion, deliberation.
So yeah, I understand that this program started to help the businesses, particularly the eateries, and it's fantastic. We've done a great job. I was actually just in Old Town, Pasadena yesterday, and I saw what they have there. There's stagnant water collected against these things. There's food scraps laying around. It's not a pretty sight relative to what we have here in Sierra Madre. So the staff and the businesses have been doing an amazing job of keeping these areas pristine, and I'm proud of that. I might have another question. I know we're just discussing, but given the fact that it was assistance, and our goal was not to make the businesses any better off, but to assist them to be actually made whole in where they were before. So if we're thinking about this program on a go-forward basis, like how much square feet are we offering? How many tables relative to what was done before? I'm still not clear on that aspect.
And I'm just going to speak from what I understand is that hasn't been established yet.
Okay.
So that will be part of the evaluation. Is that correct, Director Semino? He is nodding his head affirmatively. So yeah. Councilmember Creeps?
Just to follow up on that, I read the staff report in such a way to suggest that, what Councilmember Garcia mentioned about providing for alternative space while the indoor dining was not available during the pandemic, that now, instead of providing that benefit, the notion would be to actually charge for the use of public space. And so I don't know if that was part of the consideration, again, with the fee to get, to make the businesses actually compensate for the use of the public space as opposed to the benefit that was provided during the emergency.
So that's a question.
Yes, I think
Well, go ahead and
Director
ask
Semino was
Director
nodding as
Semino.
well.
That is correct. We're going to be considering all that as like leased land with the permit fee. So that's why we're going to study that. We already researched some other cities, what they're charging, and they're basically doing it per square foot. So we want to make sure that we evaluate that properly and come back to you probably around December with the fee schedule for it.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Councilmember Parkhurst.
as long as you're up here, Director Semino, I had a question. So at the corner of Kirsting and Baldwin, there's kind of that seating area that's there that most of the tables are from, Starbucks has, I guess they've placed them there, are they their tables? Can you give me a little bit of history of that area? Because that's a seating area that has been around for a while. It's a takeout establishment. I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. And I'm sorry I didn't ask it earlier. It just came up in the dialogue here.
Yeah, Starbucks has had a sidewalk dining permit all this time for their tables out there. What they would qualify today for would be an enhanced sidewalk dining. We would evaluate that. We have put out a couple tables of our own with 4 chairs around each table. And that area was increased mainly for ADA access onto the sidewalk and to get it off of the sidewalk, if you noticed. And we've added a couple tables for common use. So I think when Starbucks comes to us for their new sidewalk permit, it would be established just for in front of their place. And the other tables there will be for common use for Juice, Starbucks place, Mother Moo, and for everybody else. Similar to in front of Chase Bank. Chase Bank has now a flat area where we've put a table out there. We're going to add another table and an umbrella, and that's common use area for the restaurants, or not the restaurants, but the other food service places, Subway, pizza, those places, so that people have a place to go. Mother Moo's.
Sure.
Follow-up question, Director Semino. So are you, wanted to back up a couple of steps. We have how many tables planned to be out at Kirsting Court on day it opens?
Well, we have purchased 8 tables, 4 chairs per table, and umbrellas. Whether all 8 fit in Kirsting Court, it remains to be seen. Well, you'll see that
We're
next
shooting
week
for
as we're
that.
setting them up, but that's what we're shooting for. The remaining tables will go to those other common areas I was
Right.
just talking about.
How many more? Just 8 in total, or?
Well, no, currently we have 4, and then a couple 2 top tables also.
Okay.
So
And those would be shared by the businesses like Mother Moo's,
that-
Starbucks, any business.
yeah, there will be
I
common
mean,
use tables
if you got a
that,
sandwich at Lucky's, you could go over there too, right?
yes, yes.
Right.
And my staff is now tasked, not on weekends. I'm going to be working on our contract with the merchants. But in the mornings, my crew goes there and reorganizes the chairs, wipes everything down. But we do that once a day.
And that'll start approximately right before 4th of July. We're getting close.
Currently, we do have the tables out now for common use,
okay.
but not Kirsting Court.
That's what I'm asking.
Start to see that next week.
Okay.
There's the small things that need to be completed before we open that, but it should be open by the end of next week with tables.
So just to clarify, so we'll be open by July 1st is what you're looking at, the Kirsting Court?
You mean July 2nd?
July 4th? I'm just trying to get a ballpark.
third.
Yes.
The third for
Yeah.
sure.
Our goal is to have the concrete sealed early next week and starting to put down the tables else next week for an opening at the end of the week.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Huh?
It might not be completely done because we're still waiting for the electricity and a couple other small items in Kirsting that's out of our control.
But it still could be open without the electricity.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry about
Okay, we'll bring it back for discussion.
Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Parkhurst.
So, Chair Madre, I think, has a walkability score. Yeah, walkability score of 89, which is pretty amazing. And, in my view, anything that increases our score and creates more public space is a real positive. So I really applaud City Manager England for coming up with this. It was a brilliant idea. And I think it, we've seen is on the whole, it has increased business for many of the businesses that are there. I know even before the pandemic, when I wanted to go eat, I preferred to eat outside if it was warm enough, which is most of the time here in Southern California. So I think this is a really great program, and I'm glad that we have it.
Pro Tem Goss, do you have any comments?
I agree with everything you just said. I do feel that the businesses down there did make significant sacrifices during development of First and Court. There's no question about it. And I think this did have a very significant impact on Ms. Clemens and Mother Mood in particular. Feel bad about that. I'm not real sure there's much we could have done that we didn't do. I do believe that all the businesses down there who are not going to have patio dining will be able to use the tables out on Kirsting. I think it's going to significantly expand your potential business. So I hope that in the long run helps to balance out some sacrifices. But I do support.
Thank you. Yeah, conceptually, no doubt supporting this. If, we are in the forefront, I think, with assisting businesses in this patio dining. I had colleagues and friends from other councils asking how we did it and when we did it. And I think it's definitely something we should be proud of. And, I'm thankful that we were able to invest in the way that we did. The second thing that I wanted to comment on is if there's anything people have asked me about, it's, are we going to make this permanent? In my head, I was just thought, yes. I didn't know we had to really do anything different, but we do. So I think as we're thinking about al fresco and thinking about the new normal and the way that people are comfortable now dining, it makes all the sense for me to ensure that we continue on this work and aligning it and comply with, any of the county, state ordinances, regulations, guidelines that are coming down. But it sounds like this is a trend that we'll see at all levels of government. There are a lot of things I think we're still going to have to work out. And that's why I'm glad we're taking the time to evaluate, and we're going to hear more about this. But again, conceptually, definitely something that I would like to support and want to continue on doing. I'm really hopeful that things like Kirsting Court will assist businesses like Mother Moo's and those that may not have the patio dining. But in terms of the way this is proposed now, I am comfortable with the way that it is formed in terms of tiers.
Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Creeps.
I would just like to piggyback on that as well. I do like the point that you made about the observation period or the evaluation period that we're looking at for the rest of the year in terms of figuring out how to make this work. I also like on an extended basis the fact that these are annually renewed. And so I think that it will also give us an opportunity to reevaluate on a systematic basis, not just permit by permit, whether we think there needs to be adjustments programmatically and not just, on an individual business by business basis. So I was really in favor of that feature as well, so that we can really be proactive and nimble if there are ways to make it better and expand it in ways that make sense. But otherwise, I think this is a good first start for, coming out of what was, a really impressive pivot to support our businesses and a really creative solution. And so I like how we're taking steps along the way to, find our way to making it, to moving from a creative solution to something more permanent. And I like that we're doing it incrementally.
Any other comments? Further discussion? So it looks like we are asked to take action on this to approve the updated Sierra Madre outdoor dining program guidelines and guidance to or guide the staff to develop a new application and permitting procedure. So do we have a motion to approve such?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Goss. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilwoman Creeds. All in, further deliberation, questions, comments, sir? All in favor, please say aye.
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 And that motion carries unanimously. And we're at the end of our agenda. Do we have any action items for future agendas?
Madam Mayor?
Councilmember Creeps?
I would like to ask staff to either present themselves or maybe ask the management of the YMCA, the pool particularly, to present at one of our upcoming meetings about their plans now that restrictions are lifting and what their programming is going to be going forward and what that's going to look like. I've heard a lot of concerns about the availability of the pool and lessons and things like that. And I think part of it is lack of communication and lack of information. So I'd like to make it available to them to be able to present to the public and give us an update on what their plans are, especially now that there's going to be more freedom to have activities.
Suggestion, thank you. Any other items for future agenda? Okay, great. Well, then we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.